Well, we got invited back for another episode, so obviously we must be doing something correct.
Heck yeah, man.
It is your boy Radio Rod, Rodney Smith, Pierre Wilson, Hooch Country, Influence Country collab. We got the man, the myth, the legend, the duck hunting goat in the building.
The
Sean
big
Stemaly, what's up,
Kentuckian.
brother?
What's happening?
Good friend of mine, Sean Stemaly, man. It's great to have you, man.
Good to be on here with y'all.
But that's the funny thing about you is being a guy song that I was playing in my truck, pulling up to the bar, and we're just bumping, having a damn good time. And then, it seems like music would have been your past, when you hear it on the radio, right? Now, we don't know anybody. And it's crazy that people think that they know people from the music that they put out sometimes. But, when I met you, I'm like, dude, this dude's like a normal dude, just like me, who likes to hunt, fish, and,
Exactly.
and build trucks. You love fucking trucks and building badass trucks. And we've become damn good friends because of it. But it's very interesting to see the person that you are from the person that people think you are. So, what would your favorite song be that you ever made? Because I would think that Come Back to Bed might be one of the biggest, right?
It is the biggest.
But is that your favorite?
No. I don't know. It's hard to determine what my favorite one is because it's so wide. Like, it's such a wide variety of, like, styles.
Yeah.
That it's hard to get a favorite. I have favorites for certain, like, things. I have favorite, like, lifestyle songs and favorite, like, relationship songs. I categorize them like that. I don't really have, like, an overall favorite, I don't think.
Yeah.
And if I do, it's not out yet.
Yeah.
Because some of my demos are probably my favorites. Like, I like some of my demos better than what we did
The
in
draft.
the studio. That's the craziest part. Like, there's something about, like, the day that you write the song, like, what you feel whenever you write it.
Yeah.
There's something about that day that's different than going back and, like, purposely recording it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's something you were telling me a couple of days ago. You being a good friend, you call me when anybody's in a time of need. You're one of those guys. But that's one of the things you were telling me is that, whenever you got into writing music, is because you were doing it for the feeling. You were writing things that you felt. And so that's why I asked that question. Now going back into, who you are as a person.
Yeah. So what a lot of people don't know is that, like, my story isn't like, oh my gosh, I had nothing and I had to move to Nashville and I lived in my car. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like that at all. Like, I gave up taking over a multi-million-dollar company to do this because I love it. So I went from making really good money to making almost nothing for a long time in order to move here. But I didn't start doing music. I didn't start writing songs until I was 22.
Dang.
I started writing songs at 22.
Could you play an instrument before then?
No.
It's wild.
Didn't even know how to play guitar when I started writing. I didn't really know how to play that well when I moved here either. I was 23 when I moved here.
For context, how old are you now?
29.
29. So for everybody out there wondering, that's how
There's still time.
I was 24 when I moved here. Yeah, 24. Yeah. I get it all mixed up. The years flew by so quick since then. Like, in this town, it just flies.
Yeah.
But I didn't, like, grow up playing music. Like, nobody in my family does music. Nobody.
Yeah.
So I think the cool thing about...
I kind of just started singing along to the radio.
Yeah. So I think the cool thing about what you're talking about, which is what we kind of wanted, which is really why we brought you on today, is because, a lot of people can sit here and talk about the music. We get it. You guys are doing the music thing. But a lot of things that people don't talk about is, like, the back end stuff, like the, your mental health, the personal stuff and just things like that. And I think what we really wanted to touch on for this podcast episode is distinguishing the difference between a persona and a person, because, we're content creators. We may not have it, like, just about as deaf as an artist, but we understand that we have to put on, a persona for social media just because there's all eyes on you. And then there is still the value of being a person in general, like, to the people that actually know you. So, like, for social media, we get a whole bunch of hate because people don't think that, they weren't raised like that. They didn't do that for real. They're just acting like something that they're not. And then for, like, people that, like, we know you and you know us, it's like, that's not fake. They're doing what they actually really love to do.
Right.
So I think what I really want to talk to you about, because a lot of people don't understand the back end stuff of being an artist, is a little bit of, like, how do you differentiate the difference between being yourself and then having to abide by being an artist and not, right, being so much in the limelight, and how do you manage all that?
And some of the things that the industry wants you to do too.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just that we perceive ourselves as something different on social media or in our music. How much of that is influenced by other people? You know?
It just depends how much you let it be.
Yeah.
First of all, anybody that's saying that they fake,
Period.
because first of all, I wouldn't be friends with them if they was. And second of all, this is the first time I've said yes to a podcast in a very, very long time. It's because they're real, and I like talking to real people. So yeah,
Appreciate that.
yeah. Me and Pierre just had a long conversation about this actually.
Yeah.
From going through, it's hard for me to explain. So, I caught myself. I was changing. I was becoming something that I wasn't. And during COVID, I realized that. Thank God. That was one good thing that came out of COVID. But I spent so much time in a little town called Hohenwald, Tennessee, with one of my best friends in the world, Moon. And then I went back home a bunch during that, and I realized I was like, wait a minute, like, I'm changing.
Mm-hmm.
Something's happening. And that right there is like something that a lot of people get caught up in doing this stuff, and doing social media. They get caught up in a false reality. You always have to like have the difference in your head, what reality is and what social media is.
Yeah.
It's two different things. And so many people get caught up in trying to compare themselves on social media and trying to like be better than this person and that person. Well, all those people are struggling too.
Yeah.
They're just not showing it. You're just watching a highlight reel of their entire life on Instagram.
Exactly.
And that's it. Everybody struggles. I don't care who you are. I don't care how happy you look. Everybody struggles.
Yeah.
Like on social media, you might look at mine and be like, his life is pretty lavish. But like, you don't see what goes on like behind the scenes. Like my life the past 4 months has been absolute living hell.
Yeah.
But you would never guess it on social media.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that right there is like scary almost.
Mm-hmm.
That if I can hide it, because I'm not like on social media all day long being like, oh, like what's the next trend? What can I do? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If I can hide it, imagine like what a person that's really good at social media can do.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's their mental state of mind?
Yeah.
And in the artist world, you get so obsessed and infatuated with becoming the next big thing that you forget to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You forget, you get so caught up in appeasing everybody around you because you're an entertainer. That's what you do.
Yeah.
So like you get so caught up in satisfying all these people and satisfying the people that are around you and that work for you and all that stuff that you forget about taking care of your head.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it wears you down and pretty much slowly kills you, to be honest with you. I'm not going to like filter anything.
It makes me,
I mean, people wonder why artists overdose and artists like drink themselves to death and all that stuff.
yeah.
Everybody's always so surprised.
Mm-hmm.
But
Makes
like,
me
it's
think-
not surprising at all.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like, it's the same story over and over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
It's the same exact story, just different substances, different situations, but the same exact story.
It makes me think of something you were telling me about the people that get to do this and why people do kind of lose the being able to understand who we are as a people, because we're just freaking people, right? Like whenever I met you for the first time, we were at Nashville Palace, naturally I expected you to be a certain way. Why is that? I don't know you. We don't do that for anybody else other than the people that we see have a social media platform, and then we begin to think that we know these people that we don't know. And so it's like you were telling me, you're like, it's a certain person that gets to do this, right? There's a certain person that gets to be where we're at, and then there's a certain person that is just sitting there hating in the comments, and they'll never understand who you are, and they have this idea of who you are, and they have no idea what you're going through or the type of person you are. I want you to kind of like, go into that again, because you're so right. It made me think about it. I thought about it for a couple of days, because I would sit there and kind of put myself in the same category as them and wonder why. Why do these people feel a certain way about me when they don't know me, right? But I'm the same thing. We're just fucking people. You shouldn't expect something from somebody or something out of somebody you don't know. You just seen a highlight reel. That's what you called it.
Right.
That's just a fucking highlight reel.
Yep. Man, yeah, that's me. Whenever me and Pierre had that conversation the other day, like he was getting down on himself because there was a few people like talking crap on the comments or whatever. But like, and then I like, while I was on the phone with him, I went to his TikTok page and I looked at the comments and I scrolled through and saw all these thousands of comments that were positive. And I was like, man, like, you are letting a few negative things outweigh the incredible stuff that you're doing as a human being, like actually influencing people, like in a good way, you know, not in a bad way, like Cardi B or something, you know, you're influencing people in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a power that not many people have.
Yeah.
It's really not. In my opinion, it's God-given. For people that don't like believe in that stuff, you know, I don't know what to call it, but like in my head, it's something that is gifted to you, and it's up to you to use your free will to use it.
Yeah.
And it's also something that you learn and adapt.
Exactly.
You know, you could be very blessed early on with a rich family, right? But you don't always have to act like that.
No.
You know, like you can learn to be
You
humble.
have a choice.
After a while.
No matter
Exactly.
what situation you come from, you always have a choice to try to make it better.
Exactly.
No matter what.
And we talked about this on the last podcast, actually, with influencing to actually influence.
Yeah.
Right. And like you said, it's a gift. Not everybody has that. You have a lot of big time influencers. And this is kind of what helped me navigate the social media world, which is like you have a lot of big time influencers that blew up with no purpose. And I respectfully say that, like they blew up with no purpose. They're probably just super gorgeous. Cool. They built a following. Cool. You didn't work for that. You know, what we have and what so many others have is influencing to actually influence and influence for a purpose.
Yeah.
And that's something that's going to go so much further than anybody that just blows up for no reason.
But the crazy part is, that's your mindset, and it's a rare one.
Yeah.
You just don't understand that because it's the only way that you think. But
Exactly.
It's a very rare thing to think that way, believe it or not. Because you think of how many people are in the world compared to how many people do stuff like this for a living.
Exactly.
0.000001%. And then how many people are successful at it? You have to have a Kobe mentality.
Yeah.
You have to. Like, that's why I love Kobe Bryant so much. I loved him. I mean, rest in peace. But, like, I always idolized him. I was never, like, into basketball like I was baseball and football and stuff. But, like, I always idolized Kobe Bryant because of, like, the way he thought.
Yeah.
And that's the way you guys think as well. That's the way I think. But it's not normal. It is not a normal mindset.
No, not normal at all.
So it's hard for us to understand and comprehend what it's like to not have that. And most people do not have it. So I don't know. That it's just like a thing where we're in our own little world and we never realize it.
Yeah.
Until you like travel outside of our little world and you're just like looking around, you're just like, dang, like not everybody's like us.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, which is fine. It's perfectly fine because what that mentality also gets you is a life full of thinking that you haven't done enough all the time, constantly. I feel like guys like us never rest. We have anxiety. And anxiety leads to depression. And that's a balance that we all have to fight every single day. I fight it every single day.
Yeah. And you're the perfect person to talk to about that, at least for, you know, whenever we had our conversation. But, you know, you're exactly right. You know, it's what we do is almost, it's God given to have kind of like a message that you want to get out, right? Like I'm a country boy. We're one and the same, hunting, fishing, like trucks and four wheelers, one and the fucking same. But there's just something about us that made it, you know, unique, that where we were able to voice our lifestyles in a different way. And mine was fashion, dude. I always fucking loved fashion, and I would have never thought that I was going to be able to do this for a living. But that thing that does drive us and set us apart is not the fact that we're famous, right? Or quote unquote famous. It's the fact that we're good people who are driven. And when we felt we had a calling, we just fucking ran with it. You know, to those that are out there just selling sex, basically tits and ass on Instagram, I hope that one day, you know, they have that same feeling that we get whenever we fucking make content.
Oldest profession in the world, though. You know, it really is. It kind of is like the OG of jobs.
Yeah.
Like, that was like the first job, you know what I'm saying, with stuff like that. Like, back in the day,
you're
man.
right, man.
But kind of touching on what you're saying, though, like, I think it's also important to have that supporting cast that realizes that. You know, like, you saw his worth not because he was a big-time artist, because he was a person. Like that goes with a lot of friends. Tristan Mraz is the same way. Like when we first met them, it wasn't because they were famous, and I think people tend to forget that when they think of Nashville. They're like, oh, you're around so many famous people. No, I'm around a lot of friends because that's what they are.
But it's
They're just as much as
people like you, though.
Exactly.
And that's the hard thing to like realize.
Yeah.
Because like those people think that that's wild, but to you it's not. Like and after you're in this industry for a while and you're in this world, like it's so normal.
Yeah.
That it's just like, I mean, I got people's phone numbers on my phone that I would have never imagined.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Yeah.
I remember going to concerts, like country concerts back home. And I would have never imagined that, like, literally every single one of those guys is my friend now.
Yeah.
Every single one of them that I watched.
Nuts, dude. You, Tristan Mraz, I was big fans of both you guys' music before I came to this town. And I met you guys, and it became good friends. And that goes back to what I was saying, we're expecting something out of somebody before you meet them. It's like you see all these girls who are going to Broadway, coming here on a bachelorette party. The first thing they're looking for is, where do the artists hang out?
Yeah,
I'm going to Jason Aldean's bar because that's where Morgan's going to be.
Friends,
I'm going to,
even friends out of state. Friends out of state will say the same thing. Like,
oh yeah,
you always doing this cool stuff. Like, how can I get around that? And I'm like,
yeah, where are you going to be hanging out? They're not asking me to hang out with me, motherfucker. I'm in town all the time.
Right.
You're asking me to figure out who I'm hanging out with. But why do they do that? Why do you want to hang out with somebody you think from content, from videos, from music?
Persona to person. And it's such an untouched topic that people don't talk about. And that's what's so cool about a podcast like this. Like Hooch Country is really changing like the ways of what streaming, what talking, podcasting, like all those type of platforms is doing. It's because a lot of these outlets are so corporate, like they can't talk about stuff like this because you have to listen to the man up above, right? And more outlets need stuff like this where you can freely speak about stuff that's untouched, stuff that's unhinged, and stuff that real people go through. Like that's why I love stuff like this, is because you can really tap into somebody's life and what they're actually going through and really have a conversation. Like you said, you don't go on a lot of podcasts. Why? Because it's like that there's a stigma to it that it's like, we're going to force this down your throat. We're going to talk about your music. We're going to talk about why you're so successful. How do you get from A to Z and skip every middle step in between that? But that's not what people's lives are. Yeah. You didn't go from 0 followers to 500 through luck.
Yeah.
There was a whole in between that people miss out on, and that's what an outlet like this gets to do for you. And that's why I love like getting to have a conversation with genuine people that do think the same way as you do, but also have a good head on their shoulders.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, in my opinion, what it all comes down to, no matter what, is authenticity.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the root of everything.
Yeah. It's not a magic fucking powder. We don't have this magic. We didn't just wake up one day and Sean Stemaly could sing. We didn't just wake up one day and fucking Rodney knew every country song in the fucking world. And I didn't just wake up one day and could dress and thought that I was going to go and talk about it. It's literally just being our authentic selves, turning it into a platform, whether it's through fucking social media, TikTok, or through streaming platforms like Spotify and iTunes. We're just vocalizing what it is that makes us unique and authentic. Everybody's different, right? It's not no fucking magic. It's really not. A lot of people think that, like you were saying, that there's an A to Z. Sean Stemaly woke up one day, got a magic fucking potion. Now he's Sean Stemaly. Yeah, that's not how it fucking works.
Yeah. I mean, literally just be authentic.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, and not even like exactly the way that you described it, but more like, I'm trying to resonate it. Like, if you put on an outfit and you feel good about it, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
If you feel good about it, everybody around you is going to feel good about it. Yeah. Even if it looks different at first, guess what? They warm up to it. Yeah. I wear waiter pants almost every day. I've been doing this almost my whole life, and now it's like fashion.
No, the drip is crazy. My boy's got on cowboy boots.
People, like, Duck Campbell is fashion now. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's just what I do. Like, I don't do this because it's fashion. I've just been doing this my whole life. Yeah. And it's like the same thing with music. It's the same exact thing, no matter what the song is about. But that's why there's so many good songs about relationships and breakups, is because everybody goes through that.
Yeah.
So it's easy to be authentic about that because everybody
goes through it.
With lifestyle kind of stuff, it's a little different. That's why with lifestyle songs, you get a lot of people being like, this is corny. This is corny. Well, it's because it's probably not that authentic.
Yeah.
Now, piggybacking off of the authenticity thing, and this is a question for everybody. Do you feel like you have to you have two different characters for real world and social media? Is there like an extent that you do have to pay attention to when it comes to being two different people? Because I feel like I'm pretty different.
I eliminated that.
You eliminated that?
I eliminated it.
Yeah.
I was tired of being two different people because I can barely take care of me and what goes on in my head just with one person. How am I supposed to take care of two? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that really is a thing. Like you're taking care of another person.
Yeah.
Whenever you have a different persona, like you're catering to that every day and feeding it on social media. But I realized probably 6 months ago, probably a year ago, honestly, so I really realized it, that like, it doesn't matter. If I'm me and I feel good about it, that's all that
Now,
matters.
what exactly does that mean, though? Because from what I see on your social media,
Well,
you act the same way you perceive yourself. So, like, what area is it that you had to eliminate from being somebody else?
for a long time, I didn't post anything about duck hunting, didn't post anything about deer hunting, didn't post anything about shooting, archery, none of the stuff that I like love to do outside of music.
Okay.
I never posted about it.
Okay.
You know, I didn't even post about my relationship for a long time until like 3 years deep into it. Something like that. 2 years. I don't know. But like, I was so infatuated with appeasing everybody around me and the people that I was working with that I let it just consume me and turn me into a character online
Okay.
compared to who I was in real life, who I like knew I was. And whenever you have an identity crisis, that's when everything goes downhill.
Yeah.
Everything will do this.
Dude, it can happen so fast. Like, so when I think about that, I think about myself in like the beginning and still kind of do it. Sometimes I'll fall into a trap where I'm reading comments and I'm like, I feel like the manager for Pierre J. Wilson, right? I feel like I'm managing this person who makes content. Like it's two different entities.
Yeah.
And that was hard, man. I sat and I had a fucking 5 a.m. conversation with Co-Wetzel on the bus one time. He said, man, you got to stop reading them comments. And I was like, but I got to engage, man. You know, I got to like continue to work. I have to engage. I have to, you have to go through and you're like, oh, you're trying to be positive, respond to positive people. But then there's that, you motherfucker, you fake son of a bitch sitting right there. And you're like,
would they sit right here and say it?
No, fuck no, they would never.
That's all that matters.
But
if they wouldn't sit right here and look you in the eye and say it, it does not matter.
Exactly.
Because they are lesser.
But it took me a while to get to that point. I felt like the manager for myself for so long. I'd be like, okay, time to turn off the fucking dude who just went to work, made this content, fucking poured his heart out into the content. Now I need to become the guy who manages it, fucking reads through these comments. And it was like two different people. And I was like, finally, when I got to the point where I was like, fuck these comments, I'm me. I don't need to be the guy who just goes to make content. I make content about shit that I love and that I want to talk about. And when I fucking turn that shit off, I'm turning it off. I'm going to engage with my fucking friends. And it sucks because it kind of ruins it for the people who do want to come up with an idea of who you actually are before they get the chance to meet you in public. But that's the best way for me to keep my own fucking mental sanity, is to avoid these fucking people who think they know who I am on social media and in these comment sections, and just be me. Be the guy who wakes up, wants to fucking do this carnivore diet and get in this fucking studio and make content and then lay my ass down.
Yeah.
And have some wine.
I feel like when you're in a niche, though, or I guess, do you feel that way? Like when you're in a niche, you feel like you have to stay in that? Like when you built that following based on, so let's say, for example,
I had a truck following before music.
Yeah, but that's all like,
after Z71 it tied in.
the way that I see Western, though, is such a big umbrella of, it could be multiple different things: trucks, dancing, country music, fashion, rodeo, and hunting. Like I felt that all falls into one. But let's say that you found a love for sports all of a sudden, right? But you're so stuck in a Western niche. So to the people, because this happens a lot to people, like who want to switch niches all of a sudden. I keep saying niche, but same thing. But let's say you wanted to fall into into a sports niche, right? Mm-hmm. And you had to manage being the Western that everybody still loves, but you saw like your sports content not doing well. What would you do at that point?
That goes back to just appeasing everybody. Because if he's not happy doing the Western thing and All that matters is that he's happy here. Because if you picture the best way to describe it, okay, if you're at who's your favorite Cody Johnson show? That's my favorite.
I'm glad you know.
My favorite. And his energy is just like he's having a bad day and he's letting it get to him on stage and he's just like, compared to how he usually is on stage.
Yeah.
Happy, like passionate. The audience feeds off that, right?
Yeah.
So if he's just like, the whole audience is going to be like, but if he's being Cody Johnson and he's just getting that, I mean, he's super hype on stage. The whole crowd's just like, yeah, it's the same thing on social media.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you're good here first. You have to take care of you first because your audience feeds off of your mentality.
Yeah.
They really do. It's just like a stage. It's the same exact thing.
I feel like I
You
pay
have
attention.
A whole audience of people watching you.
I feel like I pay attention a little bit too much to appeasing, but to an extent, only because there's a system when you do want to make it to as far as you want to go. So let's say, like when you're not, I'm not going to say we're starting out, but when you're, I would say middle tier, bottom tier, trying to get, but you have bigger hopes and bigger dreams. And this is, I think a lot of people think this is like when you really do want to get to Z, right? And you're at like mid M, right? I feel like the only reason why I do appease the people is because there is a system and you have to kiss ass sometimes to get to where you need to be. You got to adjust at certain times and you got to be coachable. And I think that's the main thing that I comprehend is being coachable, is because I'm always learning off of somebody else. And I think this goes back to why people think, everybody thinks me and Pierre are competing for best Western social media fucking influencer on TikTok, on social media. And it's just, it goes back to like, I learn off of him.
Right.
Right. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be as far as I am now.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I think appeasing a little bit is just like, oh, Pierre's bigger than you. We do way two different things.
Right.
Right. Like you come from it, I'm adjusting to it. And I think that's important when I do say appeasing. It's not so much of like, I'm going to fucking completely, never give a damn about what other people say. But if you didn't get those negative comments, would you ever adjust anything to be better?
I would say in that situation, no. Like when it comes to the negative comments, dude, there was so many days, like especially when I first started, I was like, damn, why do these people think I'm fake? Like and it really came down to the damn color of my skin. I was like, fuck, they just never seen a black guy do it like this before. And when I really got to think about it, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, dude, like I've been like this my whole life. Back in Dunn, North Carolina, middle school, high school, I've been this whole way. Man, I used to.
That's all that matters, man.
I'd get off fucking school and I'd ride my horse back to fucking school and back to the fucking house just to goddamn get some miles in.
Country ass shit.
I'm swear to God, dude.
Holy crap.
I would, man.
Your horse?
I'm talking, and I was fucking.
Tie that thing up like in the front door of the school?
Dude, we'd ride horses to the bar where I'm from. Like people just don't understand. It's the most slept on place in the
on a
world.
horse?
That's a good question.
That is a really good question.
I don't know if anybody ever has.
Anybody knows that answer.
You get an RUI riding under the influence.
Riding under the
Riding under
influence.
the influence.
That's all that matters, though, man. It don't matter what nobody
Yeah.
says. If they judge you off the color of your skin, that's their problem.
Yeah.
They have a problem.
Well,
That's
and I'm not
normal
going to
nowadays.
say
That's
they have a
normal
mental
I'm
nowadays.
not going to say that that's all it is. There's some people that hate me that are probably black. I know there is. I've run into a couple of them on social media. Not
also
that I
don't
care
make any
anymore,
sense.
but there's
pride
just
thing.
thing where just people don't
have a problem.
understand. They don't understand where you come from. They really don't. They think they see this dude who dresses really sharp on social media and that's all he does. Fuck no, that's
No,
not.
he
all I
actually
do.
dresses sharp all the time. I can vouch for it. 'Cause every time I see him anywhere, I'm just like, dang. I like look at my outfit. I'm like, well. No, Pierre always outdressing people. Always.
I mean, that's
that's
just
like, I didn't even know that you were into that stuff. I just thought that you just dress really nice. I didn't know you were into like the fashion thing.
yeah.
I really didn't even know that Pierre was TikTok famous until like a couple months ago.
Hey, and we've been friends for years.
But that's not because like you're not reaching a lot of people or anything. That's just because like I'm so disconnected. I feel like with I disconnect myself from social media on purpose.
You have
because
to.
it drives you insane.
You have to sometimes.
You like have to make sure that you're good mentally, like, or else everything's gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
It all comes like I was telling you in that phone conversation. You have that voice in your head. Some people call it conscience, all that stuff. It's Jesus to me because I've watched Jesus changed my life.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't raised in church.
Yeah.
I wasn't raised in any of that. I had to find it the hard way whenever I had nowhere else to go or to turn. Like,
Yeah.
so in my head, like whenever I follow that voice in my head, everything works out the way it's supposed to be. Whenever I ignore it and I start listening to human opinions and like what people have to say, and I listen to that, my whole life goes downhill every single time.
Yeah, you told me,
Then
man.
when I follow that, like I wasn't supposed to do music, man. Like nobody does this where I'm from. Like people called me crazy and stupid for doing this because it was just like out of nowhere. And everybody always expected me to like take over the family business
Yeah.
and drive tractors my whole life because that's what Sean Deere is supposed to do, you know? But like I made a choice based on what something in my head was telling me.
Exactly.
And people will call you crazy. People will do, guess what? They did that to Jesus too.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
Not comparing myself to Jesus whatsoever. But like, but he always stood for what was right.
Yeah.
Like he stood for the right thing, no matter what. He got nailed to a cross by his hands and feet and died that way. But he never gave in to people. Like it's the same thing in everything you do. Like you just you do it because it's what feels right.
You're right.
And you know whenever you're making the wrong choices, you know. But you still will do them to like whether it's to look cool or like to fit in or whatever it might be. But you're gonna be unhappy when you get home.
Sounds like my spending habits.
Huh?
Sounds like my spending habits. It's like going to get a new truck when you really don't need one.
Oh God.
That's why I just buy old trucks.
We've been having that conversation. And that goes back to what you were saying earlier is, you know, I think being teachable, learning from people with experience in the industry that you're going into or what you want to do is fucking a blessing.
Bro, that's just like every other job in the world.
Yeah,
though.
to have people to learn from is fucking amazing.
But if you are always open to that, to learning, instead of thinking you know everything.
Oh, life is easier. So much easier.
Every single job in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've employed people since I was 18 years old, pretty much. And I will take somebody that wants to learn and has a work ethic over somebody that has history and like, but they think they know everything.
They think they know everything. Yeah,
I'll take that first guy all day long.
You'll gain so much more
all day long.
respect. So much more respect when you're coachable.
but that goes with saying back to what you were saying though. You can't listen to a fucking hater in a comment section that won't sit beside you and tell you exactly how they're feeling right here. You can't do that.
They won't.
And then never will. So I mean, social media is you have to detach from, like you're saying, bro. You got to detach from it. Just get away from that comment section. Mm-hmm.
Would you say with your experience that you have that as you grow in notoriety as an influencer that it's healthy to start detaching yourself from the social media
In the beginning,
once you start gaining notoriety? No, like getting a following and then slowing down on social media? Not slowing down, but detaching yourself, mentally, kind of like a post and run mentality. Oh, like not focusing on it so much.
dude, I think this goes back to what Sean was saying earlier. If you start to gain notoriety, and I said that all kinds of fucking weird, but if you start to gain notoriety, I keep doing it.
No to the right. What did you say? No to the righty.
If you start to gain traction, right, you're doing something right? You've kind of figured out your path, your message that you need to get out. If people are recognizing that across the fucking world, you've done something right. And the people who are trying to tear you down are a different type of person. And this is something that he's told me that he hasn't really mentioned today. But those people that are trying to tear you down, I don't want to use the word miserable, but there's something going on with them where they can't find progression in themselves. So when you start to gain that traction, you might need to detach from it. You might need to kind of separate yourself from what, you see other people doing, because you have to be aware of what your goals are and what your influence is already, right? People are loving this. People are loving what I do. People are loving my message. You have to pay attention to that one person that is going to walk up to you. And Sean's told me this shit too, but you got to pay attention to that one person that's going to walk up to you and be like, hey man, you've changed my life. You fucking you have no idea. And for me, it's you have no idea how long I've been looking for this boot and how much more confident I feel in it, man. Your content has changed my life. That one person is going to give you the recognition and the confirmation you need to keep going. And nobody in the comment sections you need to respond to. You don't have to.
Yeah, I think
respond to any negative energy.
I think to answer that question, I think there is a certain point that you reach when you feel more confident and comfortable about when you've with where you're at. So I would say, like, even with being at 400,000 for him, I still don't think he feels like I made it, right? So you still, so of course that's why you still look at the comments when you don't feel like you're at a point where I can now be like, okay, fuck what everybody else is saying. Now, for the people that because I've started to look at this a little bit, for the people that are over like 1 million and like they're big up there, they don't even you'll never see them respond to positive or negative comments just because they've reached that certain point where it's just like, now I'm good.
Yeah, but
I don't give a fuck what nobody's saying. Yeah, exactly. There's so many comments. There's so much going on. It's to the point where it's like, it doesn't even matter anymore. But when you're up and coming, it's so minimal that it's just like, you look at it. And I think this kind of goes back to what I said about appeasing. It's just like, I think when you're smaller and you're looking at getting bigger, it's like you're focusing on what people are saying. Because maybe sometimes one of those comments is actually right. You know, like sometimes I'm like, what if they're like, yo, this is kind of fucking cringe. And you start thinking, I'm like, yeah, maybe twerking in the fucking mirror is actually fucking cringe as fuck. Maybe I should stop doing that. You know, there's some comments that are just like, wait, maybe some of the stuff I am doing is kind of cringe.
Are you twerking in the mirror?
No, I'm not saying me. I'm not saying I'm not saying me. But I'm saying like, even like the voice, the singing.
I've wall twerked before.
Even like some of the like singing over the music videos, you know, like sometimes those get kind of cringe. And it's like you're seeing yourself like in the truck being that typical fuck boy, right? Singing the lyrics in the truck, and just like sometimes people are just like, yo, bro, like this looks gay. And it's just like you start thinking about it, it's like, wait, man, maybe I should stop doing that.
Like I feel like if you have to think about it though, it might be gay.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, honestly.
So I'm saying, like, some of the comments, like when you're smaller, you look at some of the comments like that. It's like, well, damn, like maybe I should readjust. It's kind of like replying to comments. Like, if you really didn't give a fuck, you wouldn't reply to somebody's comments. But you use that as a boost because it's like you're gonna make a joke out of it, show them why they look stupid, but you took the time out of your day to make a reply video to that comment. Right, you know, just when you just did that. You know what I'm saying? And it was funny. You know, sometimes that shit boosts you up to be better. You know, and that's kind of what I was saying about appeasing to certain people or certain comments. It's like that replying to that made your video content better because people were looking at it like that was funny and they resonated with you more. And that little comment helped you grow. Yeah. That's something so small helped you grow.
Yeah, I mean, I used to let that stuff get to me, but a long time ago, I stopped giving a shit what people thought.
Exactly.
So now I just, like, I'm numb to it.
Yeah.
Completely numb to it. And I just, like, think it's funny. I very rarely get negative comments.
Yeah.
So whenever I do, I try to utilize it
exactly
as best I can. And, like, last night, for, like, what he's talking about, I posted this thing on Reels, and it was some dude that said, like, all my songs were about Z71s and Copenhagen.
I've seen that.
And all that shit. And I was like sitting in my living room. And I just, like, literally in 5 seconds, turned the camera on, walked in my room, and the come back to bed plaque, the gold plaque was right behind me. I was like, here's a song that's not about any of that. That's a gold record. So,
like a subtle flex. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's something small.
Like, whenever I was making it, I definitely, like, didn't think of it as a flex, but I guess it was. But, like,
it was a fucking flex. What do you mean?
I was just like, man, like, here's literally a song, like, you sound like an idiot. Like, here's a song that's not about any of that, and there's several other ones that aren't about any of that.
Yeah.
But
so right now,
it's just funny to me, so I replied to it.
Yeah.
Is there any
usually
song,
I wouldn't reply.
Is there any song right now that is more you that you're looking forward to promoting and getting out there in the future?
All of them.
Yeah.
I own my own masters and produce everything myself.
Oh yeah. I'm glad to hear that you've gone that way, man, and I think your future is going to be fucking amazing. Your music is undeniably great, and I hope everybody who watches this goes and checks it out.
Yeah, and that's inspiring to artists who aren't also with labels and stuff like that. You know, like you're about to do the damn thing, you're figuring it out. I think that's inspiring for a lot of people.
Yeah. I'll give you a perfect example of the authenticity thing. Z71 was never supposed to be released. And I had a cheap demo made of it, and I put it on that TikTok thing. Whenever I wrote the song, it was the first song that I ever wrote on Zoom during COVID, whenever COVID first happened. It's the first Zoom write I ever had. And it was me, Andy Albert, and Brett Tyler. And I was like, man, I want to write a truck song. They were like, truck song. I was like, no, I want to write a truck song that's like my language that I speak.
Yeah.
Bubba speaks it. Pierre speaks it. Rod speaks it. You know what EFI Live is?
Mm-hmm.
You know how many label people know what EFI Live is?
Probably none of them.
0.
Yeah.
I wrote it for you. I didn't write it for people sitting behind a desk.
Yeah.
So it made it challenging because I leaked that song on TikTok, and this was before I like got on TikTok a lot. I had like a verified account and stuff. I just like didn't get on it. I posted it and checked it like 2 weeks later, and I gained like 50,000 followers.
Jeez.
There was like 11,000 individual videos made with audio. I was like, this is it.
Amen.
Yeah.
Like, we have to cut this song.
You got to be your authentic self.
And we cut it, and that song has never had a dime put behind it. Never. Didn't get much playlisting. It got a couple on Spotify and iTunes and Amazon, I think, but like nothing like, it never got on like Hot Country or anything like that. But that song will be gold next year.
Yeah.
Completely organic.
Yeah.
Completely organic. It has a 70% save rate on Spotify. 70. The highest Come Back to Bed ever got was 27% on save rates.
Damn.
So that means 70% of people that hear that song save it to their playlist.
Damn.
0 advertisement, $0 in any of that. Like, because the song is speaking the language that the people that come to my shows and consume my music
Exactly.
speak.
Facts.
Exactly.
It's literally that simple, y'all. Like, that simple.
So, moral of the story, just be authentic.
Be yourself. That's
Yeah.
it.
Be yourself,
Be yourself.
and that'll get you through the doors. Well, Sean, bro, I appreciate you coming on and having a real ass conversation with us.
Always. Anytime, man.
Yeah, man.
Anytime.
Hey,
You
it's
know,
Sean.
I love both y'all.
It's Sean Stemaly on everything, man. He's the fucking GOAT. Like I said, big fan before I ever met him. Still a big fan, and a damn good friend. This motherfucker calls me
I'm
when
a
I need
fan of
anything.
you, man. I was a fan of you when you was still in the Army.
He damn sure was, man. I've
But I
had
appreciate
many a
you
nights, many a nights where he saved my
Rod,
life.
Appreciate you guys
thank you
tuning
guys
in,
for having
y'all.
me. I appreciate you guys.
Hooch
I
Country.
haven't done this in a long time, so thank
Hey,
you guys.
Of
thank
course,
you for
of
coming,
course.
brother.
Thank you
I'm
for
so
talking,
glad you
bro.
came.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Influence Country, Hooch Country collab. It's your boy Radio Rod, Rodney Smith, Pierre Wilson. Till next time.